he had sent me a text and said that he had he was drinking a rum and coke and it didn't taste good. And I said, well, you probably shouldn't drink it then.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't hear. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear. The thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and a warm welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Did Riley ingest a roofie? As you've heard, it seems like there's a new twist in the Riley Strain case. We've heard about another final text, a text to his girlfriend. Well, his mother has just revealed that the last thing he said to her while he was in the bar in Tennessee was that his rum and coke tasted weird. Riley's mother told him he shouldn't drink it, but if he'd already tasted it, clearly he'd already ingested at least some of it. This raises a bunch of new questions. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. So a couple of questions that this new development raises is, number one, was Riley's drink spiked? 2, was it intended for Riley or someone else? And that's a question that really addresses this idea of, was he targeted or was this sort of an accidental thing? Number 3, did Riley end up drinking the whole rum and coke or a significant amount? And perhaps his toxicology is perhaps going to answer that question. The toxicology could also address that question if there was a substance like that. How long the half-life is of something like a roofie, I have no way of knowing. It's not my area of expertise, but it's certainly possible that that might come up in toxicology. This development also forces us to revisit the more basic question: was what happened to Riley an accident or foul play? And I had a long conversation with someone else who seems to think that foul play can't be ruled out. So here's my take on it. Often in true crime there are two competing theories. They're almost opposites. They're sort of counter narratives. And often people remain committed to one pole versus another. Sometimes there is compelling evidence for both opposing arguments. When that occurs, one must consider a point in the middle, which in this case is what? Well, how about this? Riley clearly appeared extremely intoxicated. Some have said that Riley didn't drink very much that night, and this makes sense if early on he drank something that was spiked. In other words, the spiked narrative then actually makes the claim that he didn't drink very much, it actually validates that. Also, the fact that this was virtually the last text Riley sent makes it incredibly significant. In true crime, anything that happens, the last signs of life, the last things that are said, the last actions, all of that contextually is extremely important. This also raises the obvious question: if Riley did ingest a roofie, was there foul play? Does that mean there was foul play? This is a more difficult question to answer. Did some of Riley's pals intentionally do something in the name of fun and games? Did they intentionally play a trick on him? Did they intentionally play a trick perhaps on somebody else? God knows drugs are part and parcel of today's youth culture, more so than ever. We see it constantly in true crime cases. It's in the Koberger case, it's in the Murdoch case, it's in the Amanda Knox case. It may also be in the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed case. It's certainly something that came up. It's probably present in the Idaho 4 case as well. In other words, it's something that one can almost expect, especially within the student party setting, and that's exactly where we are here. But CCTV doesn't show anyone pursuing Riley. Is there a link between Riley ingesting a substance that substantially impacted his cognitive processes and the homeless folks situated where Riley disappeared. Of course, it's possible that an incredibly intoxicated person would make an easy target at night, in the dark, out of sight, and in their domain. The thing is, if they had nothing to do with the first part of it, then you kind of have a random stranger sort of randomly wandering into their area. Are they going to instantly default to some kind of foul play? Maybe, but also maybe not. At the end of the day, though, we are back to square one. If Riley was extremely drunk because of a series of drinks or because of one drink that was spiked, the result is the same. Think about it. He ends up stumbling out of a bar. Nobody basically forces him out and then continues to take him somewhere. He stumbles out of a bar. He ends up walking along a path, along a river. All of that happens naturally. In the one area we can't see, is that where the foul play occurs? Maybe, but Riley's body ought to provide conventional clues of a crime if a crime occurred. There should be clues if he was assaulted, a knife wound, a bullet wound, injuries to the head or throat. There aren't any. What this does seem to confirm is the unlikelihood that Riley's death was a complete accident. I don't know what his habits were. I don't know how often he drank. I don't know how often he drank to excess. All of that is important. But one can see how ingesting a roofie could easily have compromised him in a serious way, rendered his swimming ability as well as his spatial and navigation skills useless. You might say that he was a good swimmer, but he was also someone who could walk normally, right? And he could probably walk fairly well even while under the influence. But when you have a certain kind of chemical that the body's not used to, well, then you're not even going to be able to walk properly, which is exactly what we see. If you can't walk properly, well, you're certainly not going to be able to swim, especially after a fall into a cold, fast-flowing river at night. What do you think? Do you think this changes things into a foul play scenario? I think what it really amounts to is basically it's an accident, but with, let's call them, extenuating circumstances. I'm not going to take it further than that. I will be putting up another analysis of the circumstances around Amanda Knox, and we're going to look at an email that she wrote, what she said in that email, and how that kind of holds hands, how that is to some extent intertextual with her statement that is being examined in a trial in Florence, Italy at the moment. What appears in that email that is the same as in her 4-page confession to the police, and also what doesn't appear there? What are the differences in that respect? Thank you for listening. I hope you're having a good week, and I'll see you guys next time.